The Arcturians were not the first extraterrestrials to arrive to Terra, but we did arrive long before the human species were created. We came to Terra in order to establish a manned base and construct a portal connecting the planet to the stars. We called it Sol Terra 1, and it's located in today's Indonesia, as described in previous chapters. Our sixth density Arcturian collective was on a mission of connecting all planets in this solar system through a network of Arcturian portals. Intelligent life was already then present on various densities in this solar system. We connected to beings on the planets Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune. Always remember that there are 12 main densities to all expressions of source energy in this universe called Eon. That means that there are 12 densities to each form of matter, and each time that we visit a planet, we focus on a particular density that we wish to study. Every star race has a default density, and we arrived from the sixth. In order to connect to Terra, we needed to lower our spaceships in density by the help of technology. This topic will be discussed in depth in a future chapter. When first arriving to Terra, we focused on the fifth density of the planet. Many intelligent life forms were present in the oceans already then, but no land-living species were capable of holding a higher consciousness. We studied highly evolved dolphins and whales and noticed how they had the capability of lowering and raising their vibration and thereby accessing several densities by choice. These species have been greatly misunderstood and consequently maltreated by the human race in more recent times. Humans have even been hunting whales and dolphins, totally unaware of the great wisdom they hold. Whales and dolphins are the only animals on Terra capable of living in 3 densities simultaneously. Humans hunt them on the 3rd density, but they absolutely thrive on the 5th when no humans are around. All of nature is presently at the 4th density together with Gaia, waiting for humans to catch up so that the planet as a whole can ascend to 5D. This is a question of focus since all 12 dimensions already exist simultaneously. Gaia, the collective soul of this planet, is ready to shift her focus to the 5th density, and therefore all life on the 3rd and 4th are being pushed to ascend together with her. If Gaia ascends without the humans on board, it means that the collective planetary consciousness turns their focus away from the human species. When we arrived to Terra, we connected strongly with a species called Mururu, which was an aquatic mammal living off the coast of what we today call Indonesia. The Mururu could be described as a flying dolphin, capable of communicating telepathically with us. We decided to build our portal of Sol Terra 1 on an island close to the main Mururu habitat. At that time, the ocean levels were higher, and the Mururu used to flock around the entrance of our portal. Humans of today would probably look upon Mururu as merely dolphins, but to us they were the purest and most intelligent of physical life this planet has ever seen. They had a profound understanding of their own divinity and instinctively understood the law of one. All of this information is carefully documented inside of our portal, which will become visible as humans reach a 5th density consciousness. Sol Terra 1 is an ark, a library, and a stargate, and will serve as a cosmic university in the not-too-distant future. You are very close to getting access to the full story of your planet and the true human history. The solid proof you want is inside of our portal, and this information will be given to all of our students. We are present on the planet already now, since our portal is a manned base, and we wish to connect to all people of Terra. Because of a series of planetary changes affecting the climate and the living conditions in general, the Mururu population was diminishing and the species faced imminent extinction. In cooperation with other star races, the Mururu were transported off Terra to an aquatic world in the constellation of Pisces. Their new home planet is part of a galactic safe zone strictly guarded by the Intergalactic Federation. We call this safe house Exelon. This is similar to the nature reserves you have established on Terra. Exelon is an area of space dedicated to the preserving of certain species which otherwise would go extinct. A perfect habitat is created for each species, and their existential and evolutionary needs are entirely met. The Mururu were placed on the 6th density because of their extraordinary intelligence and consciousness. The Mururu remains the only species from Terra considered invaluable for the universal collective consciousness and is regarded as a star of creation. After the Mururu had left Terra, Gaia prepared the planet for a new era. She had been focusing on the 5th density because she loved being around the Mururu dolphins. Now, she lowered her vibration to the 3rd and reached out to the 9 for guidance. Gaia needed a host capable of holding consciousness, which through evolution could reach higher densities. Of course, it is possible for life to start with a simple organism, evolving over millions of years, and later potentially ending up with a being capable of reaching a 5th density consciousness. The Mururu species is living proof of that. Evolution has its part in the human story too, but to a lesser degree than what most people think. Gaia wanted a faster process and a replacement species for the Mururu. The 9 heard Gaia's call and sent the Seeders to assist her. The human species was created by the Seeders, consisting of intergalactic star races with a mission of spreading life to various planets. The Seeders always start by picking a native species well accustomed to the planet in question. This creates stronger survival capabilities down the evolutionary line. A small macaque species on the 3rd density of Terra had proven to be evolutionarily successful. This became the basis of the new human species. After the Seeders had completed the main part of their mission, the collective human DNA had 11 extraterrestrial DNA strands plus the original one from the macaque species. That made a total of 12 original DNA strands. But the genetic process and the natural evolution that followed took more than 2 million human years, and during this time several star races visited the planet. 10 of them, mostly local ones from the galaxy of Nataru, contributed with their own DNA, raising the total number of DNA strands to 22. These races were benevolent and acted out of service to others. They added their DNA to the human genome so that their starseeds would be able to incarnate into human bodies more easily. Not all human beings have all 22 DNA strands. This varies between populations and areas. However, all human beings have the original 12 DNA strands, but in a deactivated form. Arcturians have never been part of the genetic manipulation program of the human DNA. We were observing, documenting, and focusing on our mission, which is teaching, protecting, and warning. However, few students follow their headmasters in the evenings and on weekends. This was the problem on Terra too. Star races study at our universities across the universe, but seem to forget pretty quickly what they learned at school. The last two add-ons, the DNA strands we could refer to as number 23 and number 24, are the most problematic ones from the Arcturian perspective. The 23rd DNA strand in particular was part of a great genetic manipulation project. It was added by the geneticists of the powerful star race called Annunaki, who established a colony on Terra. They arrived at today's Iraq hundreds of thousands of years ago in human linear time. They started a genetic process which we never approved of, and we continuously warned them of the consequences. The Anunnaki were sixth density beings and should have known better. But always remember, up until the ninth density, star beings must individually choose between the positive or negative polarity in this dualistic universe of Eon. The Anunnaki collective on Terra acted against the will of their own ruler based in the Taurus constellation. As a curiosity, we could add that the origin of both the Anunnakis and the Arcturians is in the Bootes constellation, but the Anunnakis have since spread to many planets in Nataru. The Anunnaki star being and leader on Terra, referred to as Enlil by humans, walked the negative path of service to self together with his followers and basically dragged humanity into darkness. The 24th DNA strand, and thereby the last manipulation program, is a genetic mix from a group of aliens that we collectively refer to as the Greys. They have been on Terra together with a whole band of negatively polarized reptilians, insectoids, and certain humanoid species too, working behind the scenes and strengthening their grip of power over the planet. The ultimate victim was the human collective consciousness. Consequently, Gaia was severely wounded in the process, and her focus remained on the third density. She was unable to shift focus and change the dynamics of the planet. She did ask for help, but we were following a strict non-interference protocol in regards to the third density activities on Terra. The service to self polarity grew exponentially with the arrival of the Anunnaki. This made our Arcturian collective increasingly worried as the astrological eras went by. The last two genetic interferences, DNA strands number 23 and 24, are not in line with the law of one and the free will of all beings. To begin with, nobody asked the human race for permission. Over the past several millennia, the negative galactic influence has dominated planet Terra, and the human race has been extraordinarily maltreated. Gaia, in turn, became totally paralyzed from the negativity she witnessed on her planetary body. The results of this paralysis are the numerous environmental problems that are reaching dangerous levels all over the planet today. The genetic base, consisting of 12 DNA strands, is the original human DNA. This is why we are skeptical to the remaining 12 DNA strands, and especially the Anunnaki and Grey add-ons. The original 12 11 plus 1 strands, were created on request of the 9, carried out by the Seeders in cooperation with Gaia. All this genetic information is safely stored inside of our portal Sol Terra 1 and obviously on Arcturus 2. We have the capabilities of restoring the original human DNA if requested by you, humans of Terra. That would greatly change humanity and would make you extremely powerful spiritual beings with a 5th density consciousness. But that decision is yours to make because free will is at the core of everything on the lower densities up until the 9th. Slowly, Terra grew into more of a galactic problem, not only a planetary one. We, the Arcturians, are teachers, not warriors or geneticists. We have great defense capabilities when it comes to defending our portals, ships, and upholding the balance of the universe, but the negative polarity also has a right to exist and flourish. When reaching the 8th density, then unconditional love, oneness, and service to others is the only path that will lead to ascension into the light realms. But up until then, negativity is an option and some will choose service to self. Therefore, we do not interfere until there is a great risk of galactic destabilization. That indeed became the case on Terra because the planet was used as a hub in a negatively polarized galactic network hidden in systematic time-space manipulation. From the perspective of Ra, this situation could potentially have escalated and threatened the balance of the whole galaxy of Nataru. That is why we stepped in together with hundreds of star races and interfered as opposed to earlier following a strict non-interference policy. Arcturians have actually been to war in order to protect Gaia, and violence is a rare thing for us to use. The original 12-stranded human DNA gifts humanity with access to the stars. The Seeders wanted to increase the survival rate of the human species if living conditions on the planet were to change dramatically. Each extraterrestrial DNA group that was added to the human genome is a hidden treasure for mankind. When activated, it makes the body capable of surviving on that particular planet where the DNA originates from. Communicating with these extraterrestrial beings thereby becomes more natural, and this ability is innate in each human. In the collective human genome, there is therefore a precious gift from the stars. The DNA manipulation that has taken place since the original seeding means that the human race would be able to survive on several more planets, and this greatly increases the survival rate of humanity in case Terra would need to be evacuated or abandoned in the future. To summarize, since the original seeding, there has been much interference from certain star races following the path of service to self. They have not only deactivated the original and powerful human DNA strands, but also inserted their own genetic material, sometimes for control and manipulation purposes. This has led to a situation where the majority of the human population has stagnated in their spiritual evolution. Consequently, humans have been stuck in the 3rd density for a long time, and the 4th density has been impossible to reach collectively and hard to reach even on an individual level. Humanity has been practically enslaved, and that has been a sad thing for us to witness. At the same time, a small group of people have had their extraterrestrial DNA partially activated. These humans and their descendants then became hosts for the negatively polarized aliens to incarnate into generation after generation. That is why the ruling class never seemed to change and why the negative polarity is so strong. We do not wish to blame certain star races for choosing service to self because that is allowed in this universe. Eon is based on individual free choice, and love and fear are part of the dualistic experience up until the 9th density. However, the Annunaki, as first described by the Sumerians, have been a great stumbling block for the human race and an enormous problem for the Arcturians. Permission for genetic manipulation was never asked for and consequently never granted. Our earlier sacred policy of non-interference is no longer valid. Today, we interfere to minimize damage, suffering, and pain. In that sense, humans of Terra have unknowingly changed a universal policy and practice. Generally speaking, we do not discuss other extraterrestrial races and their doings, since it is up to each race to present themselves to you in their own way. But the influence of the Anunnaki on Terra has been so enormous and destructive that it is important to mention them. We consequently choose not to discuss the beings of extraterrestrial origin living inside of the planet and in your oceans. These collectives do exist and have been here for very long, but they need to show themselves to you by their own free will. You are now living in times of enormous disclosure, and it is always better to know the truth rather than to live a lie. This is the official standpoint of the Arcturians, and we act accordingly. Because we mentioned the Anunnaki, it is fair to add that their current leader, who follows a positive path of service to others, is cooperating with us. Galactic justice will be served for collective crimes against Terra and Gaia. We are in the process of returning what once was stolen from you, and an apology will be made publicly through a unified body which we refer to as the Galactic Federation of Worlds. The blocked human DNA is automatically activated through a higher consciousness. If an individual manages to reach the 4th density on their own, the DNA activation will start on a cellular level. Many humans have now reached this crucial point. The DNA activation can be uncomfortable as it is both a physical and spiritual evolution happening simultaneously and fast. Depending on a person's age, this transformation can be completed during one lifetime. When a person has reached a 5th density consciousness, their reality changes dramatically and societies consequently transform. However, the collective awakening is challenging because it begins as a personal process and the speed of awakening is unique to each individual. But since the human collective consciousness is connected through a grid, part of the planetary matrix, a person of higher consciousness does positively affect the speed of awakening of hundreds who are still asleep. A tipping point was reached in March 2023, and the human ascension to 5D can no longer be stopped by various negatively charged entities and groups. Humanity as a collective will reach a 5th density consciousness within 2 decades. This process will be accelerated if humanity steps into the galactic era without fear. Extraterrestrial disclosure on a global level is underway, and this book is part of thousands of other projects happening simultaneously on many levels. The human species on the 3rd density has been used for souls and star races to incarnate into in order for them to have a dualistic experience in amnesia. This happens on 3rd density planets all across the universe. Since the human DNA was created by various extraterrestrial races, they also have a vested interest in experiencing life in a human body. Souls incarnate for a human experience in amnesia, and there is great galactic focus on planet Terra. Of obvious reasons, the various star races are highly protective of their soul families in human bodies. Please remember that all universes are schools for souls. We are here for self-realization. The amnesia that you are experiencing is due to the planetary matrix, and the veil of amnesia is automatically and gradually lifted as the human collective consciousness nears the fourth density. It practically means that the gravitational force is getting weaker, which affects everything, consciousness included. On the third density, the experienced gravity is extremely strong, but it weakens with each higher density. However, since the human collective has been kept firmly in the third density for very long through external interference, the original intention of the human species was largely forgotten. The plan was to create a host being capable of holding a higher consciousness in order to fill the empty space that the Mururu left behind. But we ended up with a human race that was enslaved, unable to break their chains. Ascension simply didn't take place, and we do blame certain extraterrestrials for that. Terra became a very difficult planet to live on, and many souls got trapped in a wheel of reincarnation. After each incarnation, the souls have gathered in the ninth heaven together with us, the Arcturian ninth density collective of Ra. We have analyzed your suffering and pain and planned for new incarnations. The mission has always been to break the negative polarity and its hold on Terra, but this is very difficult to do when entering a body on the third density and no longer remembering one's mission. Souls with pure intention got lost as they entered the generational and karmic wheel. But let's finish this chapter with the good news, because the light is here to stay. Humanity is now largely entering the fourth density, and the veil of amnesia is lifting as the gravity weakens. On a collective level, more humans are remembering their mission, and they find it easier to connect to their divinity. This makes them open to the truth, bringing a totally new understanding of their reality and of the divine. Information that earlier was kept hidden will become available. The negative entities responsible for keeping Terra in the dark for so long have been successfully dealt with. Balance is restored, and the age of Aquarius is finally here. Good things are in store for the planet and humanity. Focus on oneness in order to overcome fear, because fearless people are uncontrollable by others and enormously powerful. Rise, Starseeds of Terra, rise to your new golden age.